Hey guys, welcome back to Code and Box Automation Lab. This is RESTful. In this lecture, we're going to see how to do an API request testing using GET method. So if you haven't watched my last two lectures, so you're supposed to know all the document that we cover in my last lecture, where we have gone through client, server, and then what is API, why we need the API testing, and so on, like RESTful API, SOAP API, and also all the different methods like that we used through during the API testing. So here is one of the methods like GET method, and we know that GET method is used to extract the information data from your server to see it, to review, to view it, right? That's all it does. So we'll see when you send a request through the API and using the GET method how we can test it. Okay, that's the things we're going to cover through this lecture. So let's go to before we start, here is our document that our testing data we need for our testing purpose. So even in next few lecture we're going to use the same document. Here is this is called API contract document. So at the beginning, if you are when you're going to work on the real life, so before you start your API testing, first you will ask to developer, please provide me the API contract document. So in this document, something would be like, whether it could be like a Excel format or a spreadsheet or Google Doc, whatever it is, the number of information will be you will find over here, like the base URL, the resources, what is the resources, if there is a query parameters involved or path parameter involved, you will see up there. I hope that you already know what is query parameter, path parameter. If you don't know, please watch my last lecture. You will see that I described, and you will have a very good sense about the query parameter and path parameter, what is the subset of the resource. So anyways, and also you will find your API final endpoint, what is the actual URL, that's what we're going to use for our API testing. So this is the URL, and for this testing, for this is the test number 1, and for this testing, what would be the method that we're going to use? In this document, it have to also mention that your developer will tell you what method you're going to. So when not guess, when not doing by our own, so it will mention in this document whether it's get, put, post, or delete. Okay, so even though we know when you send a request, that time it's mostly like get get method, but it have to mention up there. And then in the request body, is there any document or any information that comes for this testing inside the body? If it's there, it will mention up there. Usually for the get test, definitely there will be no body, because when all your get method will help you to retrieve the data from the database. So we're not passing any data, so there will be no request body data over here. And also there will be few more steps. In a response, definitely we'll expect some response by this test. So in a response body, for a response there will be something, it will return something. Okay, and then what will be the response status? So there will be some status for every response, for our every request. So a status code, I hope that you have a good knowledge about the status code from our last lecture, and we have a link also about the status codes, all different type of status code usually we can expect during the API testing, whether it's 200 or 100 series, 300, 400, whatever it is. So have some idea. So usually 200 is like it's a success, the response was successfully done. Okay, was provided. So whether it's 200 or 201, you will see this kind of status code. So it will mention also your status code, what would be the status code we're expecting by the response. In this document it will mention also. And then if there is any comment, they will make any comment to make it more clear. And also at the very end there is a validation. So we'll talk about some validation. It is a JavaScript code that we can pass in our testing tool, like in the Postman, that will also, through the tools will have some actual validation for this test. Not only the manual testing will do, like will confirm, as a human, that are we seeing this 200 response? Yes. Are we see the response body, the data it's supposed to be? That we can say yes, pass. But along with this test, we can pass some sort of scripting, in a to create, and we can create a test cases, actual test cases inside the tool, inside the Postman tool, that will runs this script and then do the testing, and it will match your status code, it will match, validate your response data, and based on that, the comparison, the session, it will tell the test case was pass or fail. So your tool itself will have some sort of test cases, some sort of validation for your response. Okay, so we'll do this one, and this is the validation scripting. So a lot of company, it depends on all developer, they may give you this code or not. There is a chance, I have seen that they give you that code, but sometimes if they don't even provide, we will learn how to write this code. It's a very simple code, it's not that complex. You can also learn it, or you can make it your own code to do the validation. Okay, so this is the document you need. So in our even upcoming next few lectures, the same base URL, same the endpoint we're going to use. Okay, for the next we'll do some another get, another post, and put, delete, all of them. Okay, so this is the URL. I will provide all the description below, like the base URL. So you can, if you see the base URL, it means actual domain. Okay, let me show you where is the domain. If I just copy this, paste it there, this is the domain. Actual, this is the domain. It's called reqrex.in. So this is the, it's kind of like fake API. Okay, fake API just has been created for doing the practice purpose. Okay, so we're going to use this, and here you can see there's a tons of method. Okay, so get, there is another get. So we're going to use all those things from here. Actually we're going to use this domain, and then you can see if you click on get, you will find the request. Okay, you can find that this is the request. Okay, you can see this is easily, it's a query parameter because there is a question mark. So from this, I finalize, I create that document, and on the top there is another. So this is one sets of test cases, one that will cover all different type of method using this domain, and there is another one, there is another domain over here. So I create this document for our practice purpose. So if you need that document, please ping me, make a comments below, I will provide you that document. Okay, so let's go back to our Postman. Let's go over here, Postman. Okay, so this is our Postman. I hope that you already installed the Postman from our following our last lecture. So you have the Postman. Okay, and then in your Postman you don't have any project, there is no collection, it should be empty. That's fine, we're going to start from the scratch. So let's create a collection. So over here, click on up there, so, and then give a collection name. So we'll say demo API testing. Okay, API, sorry, let's make, or just this is assume that this is our collection. Okay, hit enter. See here is a demo API testing. So your collection is over here. If you click on this arrow, there's no other request been created, nothing is this API testing it's empty. So how we can add the request? There you can see there is already option over here, add a request, or if you see there is a 3 dot over here, click on there, and then you will find there is an option up there, create, add a request. See, click on there, add a request. So first of all, what should be the request? So you can give a request name. So what would be the request name? I can so what about the application? Let me give you about this application. So this API, this is the domain, and in this domain, we have a number of API for each and every test, each and every get test or put test. Each and every test will have a API URL or API endpoint, right? And then so here, and what kind of data is storing by this API, by each and every API or by this domain? It is all about user. If you see, if I click on get, you will see list of user. So this get, we know that the get method is help us to retrieve the data. What type of data? It's about the list of user, about the user. Okay, so you can either retrieve the data list of user, or you can also retrieve a single user data. So it is all about the user data that is storing by this domain, and it has a different endpoint or API to retrieve different type of data. So either you can retrieve single user or all of the users, or you can create a new user to the database that will be used the post. You can update any existing user data, you will be using the put, and you can delete any existing data from the database. So it is all about the users data. Okay, so that's all about this domain and the API holding the data. Okay, let's go now back to over there. So first is like we're going to enter a request URL. Enter a request URL. It's nothing. It is about you can create a first name. What would be this test API testing? So we'll say it is the first. Let's see what's our test cases over here. So this is our data. So first is resource. You can see this is the base URL, and this is the resource, and this is the query parameter is page equals to 2. It is over here. It is a the endpoint is this is your endpoint. So it's saying that you are going to, so that this is, since there is a query parameter, it means in page number 2 we want to filter all the users. So we're going to filter all the users, right? So let's move there. So we'll give a name. Let's give a name. How about give a name page 2 users. Okay, page 2, because in page 2 user will retrieve all the data from the page 2 about users. Okay, so this is the name of the for this testing. Okay, and the method is get method. And what would be the URL? So first, whether you can put, so since you will have all the endpoint, you can directly place this one. You can directly place, because ultimately you have to make sure that endpoint is right. This is your API URL, or you can just place one by one. You can you can place this guy first, so your base URL, and after that your base URL you can place it here. And then what's next? Then you have to pass, next is your resources. So just add the resources, copy this, paste it here. Okay, and what's next? So next is your query parameter. So what is the query parameter? Page equals to 2. So this is your query parameter. So okay, so let's go to your over here. So to query parameter, you can see there is a tab over here, params. So it is for the parameter, to pass your key and value for your parameter. So what is your key for the parameter? Is the page, right? We have seen. And what's the value of the page is 2. Okay, so you can place right this way. You can see automatically it will add over here in your API URL your query parameter with so it will, since it is a query parameter, we add as a query parameter page and value. So page and value, before that it will automatically add a question mark, because query parameter, to start a query parameter there will be always question mark. So ultimately this is your URL, right? Your API endpoint. Now if you go back to your endpoint over here, make sure that your endpoint is matching, the endpoint is matching with your query your API, your final API. So you can see over here, this is the one that we have in our document. So you can see that's API, and here, okay, here is a 2/, so there will be extra slash being added. So that's why it's better to confirm that API users, then question mark page equals 2. Okay, so this is here is matching over here. So this is your endpoint. So you can place it over here, but I showed you how you can place, even though if you don't have the full endpoint or API, if you have just breakdown like your parameter by a query parameter, you can place your query parameter key and value over here. It will automatically add it to your endpoint. Okay, so this is your endpoint or your API endpoint, right? So since this is and then your method is get method, so all is just in this test case is like to retrieve the data, to search the data, since it's a query searching the data from the page to about all the user is belongs to that page, right? So that's all. There is nothing. There will be no other here you can see there is a header. Is, we all know it is some metadata, and if you have some authorization involved with this access for this API, you have to add it to the authorization, or it will be added over here. There will be no body. Since this is a get request, and then there is no pre-request scripting. If there is a pre-request, your developer will provide that you have to place it up there to script run it before that. But in this case there is nothing, and there is another tab is called test. We'll talk about a little bit later about the test, how to use this test tab. Okay, so right now it's just only the query parameters, right? So we're using, and this is our full endpoint. There's nothing else. Just click on send. Here we go. So at the below you can see this is our output. Okay, let's say that I can make it a little bit bigger. So this is our output. You can see at the bottom you can see this is the output. What's the output? It shows like the page, there's a number 2, there is a data, and then this is the output. So you can see, as we said, this is this endpoint, this API, it's holding the user data. So it's like user ID, email, first name, last name, and avatar image. So it's a number of users. In page 2 we're searching by this number of users data, and that data is, this is a response body. So in this response body, by passing our get request for this endpoint, hitting this endpoint from the database as a response, as a result we're getting this response. So that's all our pretty much of the test. So as a API tester, what you are going to test? You are going to after you place your endpoint and select your method, and then you will see most of the time you will confirm that your response is right as expected. So what do we expect? We expect there will be a number of users related data in our response body. So this is my response body. So this is confirmed. We can see it, and also we'll confirm that status code that's tied, that comes with the response. So with the response I see the status code 200. And if I check our document, so let's check our document. So in our document you can see as a response, so what do we expect? We expect request body is nothing, so success response body, it will return list of user in a page. So page number 2, it will supposed to return list of user. That's what we have seen. Probably 6 users data we have seen as a return, which is true. It matches our expectation. As well as the status code, we're expecting 200. We have seen the status code 200. So this test case is passing. It's pass. Like as a human, human tester, I can confirm that it's matching our response expected body as well as status code. Okay, so a lot of tester you will see, since this is actual manual testing, so they will confirm this way. Okay, I can see by my eyes. Okay, the response body it has number of users data, and also status code is 200. It's passed. But you can say that it is not incomplete, it is a complete test. But is there a way we can you can write a test cases inside the tool, Postman tool, that will validate our response body data as well as our status code. Is there a way? And if this is possible, it will be amazing, because we'll have a record inside our tool, and then it will run test cases, and it will itself, this tool will validate our response and our status code, and based on that it will determine whether test cases pass or not. So it's not only it will rely on our human eyes, but also the tool can validate our response and our status code. It will be good. Then the tool will have the some record about our test cases. Yes, it's possible. So to do this, this is the validation. You can see inside and underneath the validation column there is a number, there is some code over here. So let me copy the code and then I will explain. So first, where we're going to place that code to write the test cases. At the top part, you can see, as I told you earlier, just before I send this request, there's a test. You see the test button? So click on test tab, and over here there's a box. So here, just place the code. So what is about this code? Let's see. So this is the place where you are going to write in test cases. So each and every test case you are going to write, it should be in JSON format, which is nothing, it's a JavaScript. Okay, so it's simple code. It's not that complex that you have to be very expert in JavaScript, not like that. But still, if you want to learn a JavaScript, I have a separate tutorial, full series of tutorials that will teach you the from the scratch about the JavaScript. Please check below in description. However, here I can explain you each and every line. So here is a test. Test is nothing, is a keyword or reserve word. This will define, when you use it at the beginning of your line test, it is defining that it is a test case. So you're writing a test case, and after that, inside this bracket, there's a string message. There is a string message. You can see string line. So like it is like just a message. What about this test? You can write whatever you want. So it is like the first one I'm saying, that validate status code. It means this test code will validate the status code we're getting as a response. So this is like you can say your title of your test cases. Then equal. And now how we are going to validate. What is where this 200. So I write another equals to another reserve code or reserve code or key. It's called a response code. So what is about this 200? It is a status code, or you can say response code, because this 200 is coming along with the response. So to refer this status code, this is a reserve code, reserve keyword, we can use response code. You have to write exactly as it is, following the camel cascading. So response code, so it means it will refer this code, the response code dot code. So response code, so out of this, it is a like in generic sense, the response code we're referring, dot code, then specific the response code we're getting. So it means it's referring this one equals to 200. So it means we're comparing, first of all, we're by this line we're referring the response code. It's coming with along with the response body, and here is that this equals to whatever we're saying. This is our expectation, that we're saying that in a response code we're expecting 200. So this 200 will compare with the actual response code. If this expected, this is our expectation in our test cases, and this is the actual result. If this to match, this test case will consider as a pass. This will consider as a pass. So this is one test case. Then number 2, test again, another second test cases, and then this is your title of the test case, validating response body. Now, so we validate test response code. Now we're going to validate the response body, something from the response body, so that we can confirm our response body have some specific data. So equals to, so now we'll have to refer the response body, What is the response body? Like so here is a keyword, the response body. So this will refer this response body. We're looking for some specific string, maybe dot, so we use the dot has. So it means is this response body has what? As a string format, will pass any one of the string or data. So here is one of the string, you can see data. So we're searching this data in our response body. We're saying, is this response body has data key, data string? So it will confirm, it will check this data along with this inside in this response body. Anywhere it will search and it will see. If it's fine, this test case will be passed. If it's not, it will be fail. Okay, so that's the any string you can match, you can compare from your output, from your response body. Now what if I want to confirm? So in your response body, you can see we have a pair, like a key and value, like total page 2, total 12, page 2, like ID 7 for this specific user. So it has a pair. So if you want to validate any specific key and value, like if any specific pair from your response body, like for this data, it was not, if data is, doesn't matter where it is whether it is at the beginning, at the middle, anywhere, as long as this data is string inside, anywhere in this response body, this test case will pass. It will pass, right? So it is not very specific. It is just defining, validating one specific string. But what if we want to make it more specific validation, like key and value? We'll see this, like, is that a page a key, the value is 2, so it will be more specific testings. In that case, how we can do this? To do this, we're going to use a method. What method? So since this response, like everything we see, the response, this response come through as a JSON format. So this is nothing, it's a JSON format. Okay, so if you don't know what is JSON format, I have a quick video, you can have a look and have an overall idea, not in details, but very quick understandable of what is the JSON format. But just for a very short answers, JSON is a specific data type format that's use the JavaScript language behind the scene to transfer the data, also receive the data. Okay, so here is since in our test cases that we're going to compare key and value, to do this we not only have to search a key value, we have to key, but also we have to search the the value of this key, and we have to confirm that both are validating, both are sitting together. So to do this, we will not search, we'll check each and every string, each and every character from here. So to do this, we're calling, again, where does all the data in a response body, but here we're using a JSON. So JSON, since it's written in JavaScript, it has one of the method is called parse method. So parse method, what it does, it will translate, it will translate your response to a JavaScript object. Okay, so it will translate your response in a JavaScript object, so that easily we can read each and every our code can read, our test case can read each and every element over here, parameter, whatever you can say, attribute over here, and also compare that whether we have this key and value or not. Okay, so here it means like we are calling the parse method, and then we're passing as an argument. What we're passing argument as this response body. It means this will refer this response body, and this response body, all the element attribute will convert, will translate as a JavaScript object okay, and then it will place in this we're creating a variable. It's called a response. So this is just variable. So this variable will have the knowledge about this response body. All the element we have in this response body will have the knowledge in this through this variable. And this is a variable type. In JavaScript we use very standard common variable type, which is like var or let. This is just two variable. Doesn't matter what type of data you're holding by this assigning to this variable. So okay, it's not unlike other languages like Java. You have to be very specific whether your data type is integer, string, character, your variable, your also the type have to match. But in JavaScript you don't have that kind of problem. So okay, so now response, this variable holding have the knowledge about all the data you have in this response. Now here is our test cases. So this is not our test cases. This is something that we use before our test cases, so that we have the very clear one variable, and variable have the knowledge about this, about this script, about this response body, right? And here is our test cases. In our test cases, we're saying we're going to validate, say, page number. So let's validate page number. Okay, validate page number. So this is the title of the my test cases equals to. So now I'm calling this variable response. So it means this response body dot what key we're calling. We're going to validate the page key. So page is the one key. So we're saying from the out of this response dot page, get the page key equals to what we're expecting. We're expecting 2. And this is our expectation, and this is the actual. So I know this is actual is also 2. So in this case it will be passed. But over here in test cases, again, whatever we're comparing, this is our expectation value and this is our actual value. So we're expecting for a page key the value should be 2. So equal, that's what we put over here as our test in our test cases 2. Now so this is our, so how many test cases we have? 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 test cases for this get request. Okay, so now again we can run. Let's run it again. And now where is the test? In this case, now we should see some sort of test result, because in this request, when you send this request, we also pass our script, for our testing script. So here you can see on our response there is another tab is called test results. If you click on there, you can see all these 3 test cases, like valid status code is pass, valid response code is pass, validate page number also pass. Okay, so it's passing all 3 of them. Now if you go back again, so let's now change the value for the page equals to 3. So is there any key for page and the value is 3 available over here? I don't see it. No. So our expectation page value is 3, but in real we can see it's the response, it comes with the 2. So it shouldn't match. So this test case should fail. So let's run again. And now check our test result. Here we go. You can see the validated page number is an assertion error, because assertion, it means like it is not matching your expected versus your actual. So it's saying expected false. So you're expecting 3, but actually you are getting 2. That's why your expectation value is false. It's not matching. Okay, so that's the way you can run your script, and also it can validate your response body as well as your status code. Let's make it fixed. Okay, now send it again. Here we go. You can see the test case, and now it's all 3 pass. Okay, so pretty much that's one of the very first API request testing that we can do through the get URL. Okay, so get methods. So let's get back to our document now. Again, our contract document. Here, let's see what's our next test cases. This is, you can say, TC test case ID. This is number 2. So this is our endpoint over here, where, and our resources is the API user 2. It means, you know, in user resource or folder, you know, this is the user ID equals to 2. So it means like we're going to retrieve, and also we have to use the get method. So it means, you know, through this endpoint, so this API, we're able to retrieve a single user document whose ID is 2. So this is another get method. So, and you can see as a response in a success response body, we're expecting a return a single user data. Okay, and then also if it's success, your status code should be 200. Okay, so over here, and there is also a validation code. So now let's make it very quick. We can do this one very quick. So let's copy our endpoint, and let's go over here. Let's create another request, add a request. Let's give a name of the request. Over here we'll say get single user. Okay, get single user, get single user. Okay, and here is the method. Make sure is a get, and then place your API. And then here there's definitely it doesn't have any parameter, like it doesn't have any query parameter. It has a path parameter, which is the 2. So if you have a path parameter, you don't have to, there is no other option, you don't have to place it separately. It is we have a params which is only for the query parameter. So you can place everything. So make sure, I mean, at the bottom, at the end, you have to make sure that you place the right, you know, API URL or endpoint. So this is your right, and this, but we know that this is a path parameter because this is your resource, and this 2 is a path parameter. So all together you can say it is a resource. Okay, so let's run it, make it very quick, and here we go. We can see in our response, let's make it a little bit bigger. So you can see in our response, let's make it up. In our response, you can see there is only the data is showing only the ID is 2 and only the one user's email, last name, first name, and there's nothing, and this is a URL text. Okay, so this is only the one user's data and whose ID is 2, and that's what exactly we're supposed to receive as a return through this endpoint, through this API. Okay, and the status code also 200. So it is passed. It is passed. So let's make it very quick, run our script. So now let's go back to our data here. So this is for this one. So we see this, it's return single user data, 200 status code, right? And then let's copy this one. Let's copy the validation script, and we'll explain. So where is that test data you have to place? I think now it's very easy, simple. We'll go up here, test. Now place it there. And now here is what we are going to do. So we can do the same things we can do. We can test a 200. We can place one test cases like we did for other one, right? So we can just copy the first line test, valid status, come over here. So first one, it will test the valid status response code 200, so it should match this one. And then, you know, again we call the parse method to pass this response body, put in a variable, it's called response. And over here one thing you will see, where now we're going to validate very specific, your first name and the last name. Okay, so first test, there is a first test, there is a test, the verify the first name, okay, equals to response. So here is the response variable who have the knowledge about all the response body, and we say response dot data dot first name equals to, this is the the first name we're expecting. This is the exactly the same response we're expecting, the first name. And also the next one is the same is test verify the last name response dot data dot last name equals to, this is the last name, so exactly same last name we're matching. So here is a question, why over here we use as a path to specifically mention this one, this parameter, this key, like first name and last name, to find this node in an API. This is called node. Okay, to find this node or path for this node, what would be the exactly path over here? How do I know this? Because in our other example, if you see over here in our other example, I use directly response.page for this one. Response.page equals to 2. Response, the to find this page node, I use the response after that. There is nothing I used up here, but here I see this. You can see, you can tell me, well, this first name last name underneath the data is the, you can say, the top hierarchy. Inside that I have all this key, right? So that's why we have to use data. Yeah, it makes sense. But when you see it, but if you don't see it, how do you know what would be the path? And sometimes your node, so this is called node, so your node path would be sometimes very complex. So if you don't provide the actual path, the right path, your script will not able to find this key, this node, and then definitely it will be mismatch. It will not able to find it. So how to confirm what is the right path? Okay, to do this, finder.com, click on up there, jsonpathfinder.com, and then go up here, copy your response code, whatever your response code, and then go back to there and then place it here. Okay, and your path, what you're looking for, you can see if you have a two hierarchy. Over here is a data and there is a support. You can see data and support. If you click on up there, inside the data, all of your node, your ID, email, first name with the value, key and value, and similar. So in data, what do you want to, what you're looking for? You're looking for first name. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So just place it over here, first name, or you can select over here, just select this one, first name. If you select the first name, automatically you will find the path. The path will create over here. You can see data.firstname. So copy your data.firstname. This is your path for this key, first name, the key. So now you can go back here. You can see now your response. You call your response variable over here, and then dot, and this is here. You will place it over here with data.firstname. So this is that's the way you can find out your actual path for a specific node that you are targeting to validate. Similarly, last name. Now you know this, like even though you find want to find the last name, it would be the data.last name, exactly the same way. Then you can place your expected first name and last name that will validate with your actual result. Okay, so that's the way. It is very important, guys. So you don't need the, just to make it very clear, you don't need the extension. Just use the jsonpathfinder.com. this URL, come over here, place the response, and then select, just go to the specific hierarchy and then select a specific node. It will automatically create your path. Okay, just copy the path and then place it over here after your response body. Okay, so now let's click on send. Now you will see, let's check where is our test cases. Now you will go to our test result. You will see here is all three test cases passing. It means our status code match, our first name match, and also our last name match. If you change this, your expected result, whether first name, last name, or your status code, you will see it will not match. It will, when it will be validate with your expected result, it will not match and it will fail, as we see our last example. Okay, so that's the way you can test your request using the get method, as well as you can run in the script and to write your test and execute it, and your Postman tool will tell you, will do the validation, and it will give you the test result. Okay, so that's all for today. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Have a good one. Bye bye.